All right, so today is Monday, the 27th of October 2025. We're having a Mastering Fundamental Analysis. This is a webinar aimed at educating you on how to utilize fundamental analysis to your advantage as a Forex trader. Good afternoon, Eric Ajo and Omo Isa. Pardon my pronunciation if it's not correct. All right, so we're looking at fundamental analysis. So what is fundamental analysis? Now, there are three ways we analyze the Forex market. We have technical analysis, fundamental analysis, and we have sentiment analysis. So far, I believe all the training we've been doing, it's been focused towards technical analysis. But today, we're taking a look at fundamental analysis. Now, under technical analysis, we look at the charts. We look at how the charts can help us predict market movement. And we do that looking at indicators, technical indicators like stochastics, RSI, moving average, and the likes. And for sentiment analysis, there will look more at currency strength and weakness and the overall mood of the market. But today we're delving into fundamental analysis. So we say that fundamental analysis is one of the strategic ways of analyzing any of the financial markets, whether it's a stock market, commodity market, or currency market, meaning fundamentals can cut across all the sub-markets available under the global financial market. Now, we say it involves analyzing economic, social, and political forces that may affect prices in this market. Now, take note of those keywords. It involves analyzing economic, social, and political forces that may affect prices in this market. Okay, Victorious Vicky CEO is asking, please, is this stock or shares? I don't want Forex, please. Okay, they are all in the same market called the global financial market. Now, under the global financial market, we have the stock market, we have the commodities market, we have the cryptocurrency market, we have the Forex market, and the indices market. They are all under the same arm. Now, the truth of the matter is that the biggest of all these markets is the Forex market. Now, if you learn how to trade Forex, it becomes a lot easier to understand how to trade the other arms of the market. Why is that so? Reason is because the Forex market is the biggest, having an estimated daily trading volume of $7 trillion every single day. So if you can understand how Forex works, it's a lot easier to understand how the stock market works. Because to be honest, the chart you are seeing on Forex charts is the same chart you see on cryptocurrency, the same chart on stocks and other financial assets. They are all in the same market. The only difference is in the volatility of each of these assets and how they react to prices. But basically, they are all under the same market. So just open your mind and be broad and listen to what we have to share, because even fundamentals affect the stock market you're talking about. Under technical analysis, you can still trade the stock. So just open your mind very wide. You see, one of the things that will help you to be successful in this market is to have an open mind to receive knowledge. All right, so let me get back to what I was teaching on. So I said that fundamental analysis involves analyzing economic, social, and political forces that may affect prices in any of these markets. Now, look at the screen. You can see on the right side fundamental analysis in the middle and the things that surround it. One, we have the political event. Now, political events can affect the fundamental outlook of any financial asset. In fact, let's be broad now, even generally in the global financial market, political events. Political events could mean maybe a country trying to have an election. Take, for example, when America was to have the election last year, with Donald Trump, uh, you know, competing to become the contestant, rather, to become the president. Now, that was a major political event in the history of the United States. And before the moment Donald Trump indicated interest to run for the presidency, he started his campaign and he began to make a lot of campaign promises. One of his major campaign promise was that if he becomes the American president, it will make the United States the crypto capital of the world. He also said it will make the United States the AI capital of the world. Now, ever since he became president, there has been a lot of disruption in the AI space. A lot of AI companies' stocks are moving up. Generally, technology is moving massively. Just about a month ago, the CEO of I think Oracle, suddenly his stock went up and they became the richest man in the world overnight. Stocks are being affected by political events. And not only stocks, the cryptocurrency market, just like I was saying. Now, as at the time Donald Trump was campaigning for the election, uh, Bitcoin was trading at about $75,000 per BTC. That was even as much as some days to the election. Now, because Donald Trump had made an earlier promise, eventually he won the election, and within a matter of days, Bitcoin went as high as over $100,000 per Bitcoin. The entire financial market is feeling the positive impact of this move in the market. So political event is a major indication of fundamentals, generally in the financial market. Now, another important indicator of this market, of this analysis rather, is economic data. Economic data. Now, there are a lot of economic data that moves the market. One is a major one in the United States is called the NFP, the non-farm payroll. Now, this data measures the employment change and unemployment rate and even the average hourly earnings in the US. With this data, we want to know how many people are being paid 10, 20, 50, or $100 per hour, or even the amount of people who got employed in the previous month. Now, this is how it works. If in the previous month you have more people employed in a country, it's an indication that the economy of that country is doing very well. And that is a major boost to the economy of that country. So economic data is a major fundamental indicator, in any market. Also, the next one we'll look at is the global environment. Now, here we're talking about environmental changes that can affect this market. For example, in the year 2020, there was a pandemic. That was a global event. There was a lockdown. Madam Manaji, good evening. You're welcome. You're welcome on board, ma. So we had the lockdown. A lot of companies were shut down. In some countries, there's earthquake, there's typhoon, all those environmental events. Many of them, in most instances, are actually negative. And when they happen, people lose job, companies shut down, and that leads to a negative effect on the economy. For example, Australia is known for having wildfire. You know, a location may just get burnt, and before you know what is happening, that begins to affect the economy. Even Texas and United States do experience this wildfire also. All this come under what we call a global environment. Then we have the interest rates. Now, interest rates is decided by the central bank, and the role of the central bank is that the central bank regulates the economy. So this is decided by the central bank. Also, inflation. Inflation is another fundamental point to look at, because whenever there's inflation, it will affect the economy of the country. So these are the things that fundamental analysis, revolve around for any economy. So we say that fundamental analysis helps to understand the socio-economic factors causing demand and supply imbalance in the market. And once you understand fundamental reason behind price movement, you will be able to strategically manage your trading activities for huge profit. Fundamental event has great impact on our trades, as it could make a stock, commodity, or currency stronger or weaker. I gave an example of Bitcoin the other time. It was trading at $75,000 per BTC just shortly before the election of the United States. And the moment Donald Trump won the election, a couple of days after, it went as high as $100,000 per Bitcoin. Why? Because it gained strength. It gained strength because Donald Trump is a pro crypto president of the United States. And since he became president, he has actually been able to fulfill his promise. Now, adoption rate of crypto assets is really increasing in the US. The banks are already integrating cryptocurrency into the financial system of the United States. 5 cryptocurrency assets are now being adopted, and that includes Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, which is Ripple, Solana, and Cardano. These are being integrated, into the financial system in the US, such that in some days to come, weeks, months to come, I mean, even there'll be a rollout of crypto currency debit or credit cards, which can be used at ATM terminals. That is how fast, cryptocurrency has been able to evolve in the US. And this will actually increase the economy of the United States of America. So fundamental event will make a currency stronger or weaker depending on the outcome. Now, looking at the impact of these fundamental activities on the chart, we say that the effect of fundamental events could last for minutes, hours, days, weeks, or months, depending on its significance. That's the key word, significance. Now, some fundamental events, when they are released, the effect will just last for a few minutes and it wears out. For some, it may just last for a few hours, a few days, weeks, or months. It all depends on the significance of that event. Also, the effect of such news could result in trend continuity or trend reversal on the chart. Now, what this means is that if before the release of a data, the market is in a bullish direction, that is the trend is upward. If the data comes out and is in line with that outlook of the market, which is already bullish, then that news event will push the market higher into the bullish direction. Now, let me just mark it on the chart to give you an insight. This is what I'm saying. Let's say the market is already in an uptrend and the data comes out and it's supporting that uptrend movement. Then you see price shoot up, far higher because it's in line with the current outlook of the market. That is trend continuity. On the other hand, it's also possible that the market is in an uptrend and a news event is released or a fundamental event is released and it goes completely opposite the direction of the market. In that instance, we say that event is leading the market into a reversal. And that's why we always say in trading that fundamental analysis can override technical analysis. Technical analysis is very good. I mean, it works, but then fundamentals can override. That's why before the release of a fundamental event, you need to check your charts. You don't place a new technical trade shortly before the release of a fundamental event because the outcome of that news can turn around the market into an opposing direction, thereby leading to losses. These are some things newbie traders don't know. They just say, oh, I entered the trade and the market just went against me. The question is, did you place that trade shortly before the release of a fundamental data? If you did, then that if you are not trading that news event itself, it's just best to stay out. All right, so on the chart here, we can see in 2020, oil price dropped as a result of a collapse in discussion between OPEC and Russia over proposed oil production cuts amidst COVID-19 pandemic. This made oil to fall from $48 per barrel to $7 per barrel within a space of a month. Now, this is a massive drop. When fundamental events affect the market prices, price can drop drastically. The same way it has dropped in this instant drastically, it could also shoot up, massively also within a matter of hours or days, because fundamental outlook can be very, very volatile. In many instances, they are even more volatile than technical price movement in the market. All right, here we can see in March 2020, there was increase in cases of COVID-19 in Europe, and DAX, which is a German index, fell by 1,464 pips in 2 days. 1,464 pips in 2 days. That is massive. Now imagine someone traded this on, even if it's 0.01 lot, that is $146 in 2 days. If it is 0.1 lot, that's a standard lot, that is a 1,464 pips within 2 days. And if it is a standard lot, that is $14,640 within 2 days. This tells you the potentials available in fundamental analysis. There can be immense volatility, which can, if you know how to trade it, can give you a lot of massive profit. Now, I want to look at fundamental events that are tradable, especially even the ones we trade here at PU Prime. Now, the first one is called non-farm payroll, that is NFP / non-farm employment change. Now, this report is a key economic indicator for the United States. It is intended to represent the total number of paid workers in the US. Now, United States have data for everyone that is employed. And every month, this data is released by the ministry that is in charge of employment. So we get to know whether more people were employed in the previous month compared to the current month. So we say that NFP is a change in the number of employed people during the previous month, excluding the farming industry. So the farmers are excluded from this data. That is why it is called non-farm, meaning the farmers are excluded. This data comes out every first Friday of a new month. So every first Friday of a new month, United States releases data. And I tell you, this is the biggest news event in the forex market every month and is the most volatile. Now, at PU Prime, we trade this event live. We have a live trading session for this event. If you have not joined us for this live session before, I tell you, you are missing a lot. You are missing a lot. Now, we couldn't have for the month of March because the US government had been experiencing what is called a shutdown. But hopefully, if the shutdown, is it ends and the data comes up again in November, possibly we will be able to trade it then. But then we'll just get you updated. Just make sure you are constantly on your WhatsApp or any group of P Prime you belong to, so that if we're going to be trading live, we will let you know. So take note of NFP first Friday of every month. Now, another data that is important is called the crude oil inventory. We say that this is an inventory report that measures the change in the number of barrels of crude oil held by commercial firms. These reports are published weekly on Wednesday specifically. The report has more effect on the Canadian dollar because of its large energy sector. So if you're there, you want to be, you're interested in trading crude oil, then this particular data should be of interest to you. Then we have Consumer Price Index, CPI. This data is released monthly from different countries. It measures the price of goods and services. It gives us an objective view of how price is increasing or decreasing. Now, aside NFP, the other live event we trade live at PU Prime is the CPI. So we have two live events we trade every month, NFP and CPI. Now, CPI is usually released after NFP. So sometimes it could be the next week or maybe 2 weeks after, depending on the date the United States government wants to release the data. So just take note, like I said, we always send out the notification anytime we want to trade these live sessions. Then we have the official bank rates. We say that this is when central banks of major economies around the world release the minutes of the meeting deciding the bank rate. Bank rate here talks about interest rates. So we say the examples of these economies include the Federal Reserve, that's for the United States, the ECB, that's European Central Bank, the BOC, Bank of Canada, the BOE is the Bank of England, and the BOJ, the Bank of Japan. Now, this particular event comes under associated or related names depending on the ones adopted by each of these countries. Like, for example, the USA don't call it bank rates, it's called FOMC. That is Federal Open Market Committee. Now, there is a committee within the Federal Reserve. Now, the US doesn't use the word central bank, they call this Federal Reserve. So the FOMC is a special committee within the Federal Reserve that determines, the interest rates in the United States. Now, some countries also call it cash rate. Some call it bank rate. Some call it interest rate, but it's all the same. Just take note of the keyword, which is interest rate. Then we have the gross domestic product, GDP. This data is published quarterly and is the widest measure of the overall health of the economy. GDP is the measure used to confirm whether an economy is expanding, that is economic growth, or contracting, that is recession. So if an economy is growing, is experiencing growth, I mean, that's a good one. And sometimes an economy could be in recession. I remember some years back, I think under President Goodluck Jonathan, Nigeria was said to be in recession. And after a while, the economy rather, was able to come out of the recession. Then we have press statements. These are speeches released by central bank governors or members of the central bank governors team. Then there's trade balance and other economic data like the producer price index, that's PPI, services PMI, and the manufacturing PMI. Now, these are all the news events that are traded. You will always see it on the website where we get information on what to trade, and just take note of them from now going forward. Now, I'm going to switch over now to Google, and I'll take you to the website where we'll get information on upcoming fundamental events. So I'm going to switch right now to forexfactory.com. So I'll go straight to Google All right, so this is Google. So I'll type www.forexfactory.com. All right, so this is forexfactory.com. It's one of the most visited websites in the world that talks about forex trading. Now, the important part of this website is this area that talks about the upcoming news events. You know, but then I'll also zoom it or expand it rather so that we can see other previous data. Let me go back to last week. Okay. Now, this website, the first thing you need to do if you are visiting this website for the first time is to synchronize the time on the website. It's a global site that brings us the time for different events based on different countries. So you need to synchronize the time to align with your device. Maybe you're using a laptop or a phone. The timing on the website must be aligning or must align with the time on your device for you to use it effectively. So how do you do that? You come up to the upper side here. If you look at the right side of the screen, I just circled the time. The current time, according to my laptop, is 4:28 p.m. and that is what is being shown on the website. So I'll click on the time. Now, peradventure you're watching this afternoon and your own time is not 4:28, or most importantly, currently I am set to West Central Africa time zone. If your own time zone is different, then I'm going to show you how to correct that now. So you come to this time zone menu and click. If you are not on West Central Africa GMT plus one, just scroll through the drop down till you get to the West Central Africa GMT plus one. That is if you're in Nigeria. If you are out of Nigeria, then you select the time zone for the location where you are. If you're in the UK, you should be using GMT plus zero. If you're in Ghana, you should be using GMT plus zero. So you need to synchronize to the exact time zone of your location. So after you've done that, you click Save Setting. Then once you click Save Setting, let me refresh again. The time is showing 4:30. All right, and that's the correct time on the laptop. But most importantly, it's also showing you the time based on the time zone of Nigeria, where I'm located presently. All right. So how do you use this website? You come to the first column here, you see date. Today is Monday. Now, this is a past one. I have my reasons for showing you this. So it shows you the exact day of the week. Then the next column is showing the time. Now, this is the time when the event, the news event is going to be released. Now, don't forget, these are economic data. So the government agency, they have a specific date and time when this data will be released. So the one that will be released today, you will see that it's today. And the time when the event will be released, you see it right on the website. Now, the next one is a currency, the currency of the country from where the data will be released. This is from Canada, so it's CAD. Then we have the next column here showing the impact. We said earlier that the impact of a news event will be determined by the significance of that event. Now, under this impact, there are three types of boxes. You have the red, we have the orange, and there's a third one, the yellow. But that one will always filter it out because it can cause some distraction. But I'll let you see it since we're talking about the impact here. So I'm just applying it on the chart, sorry, on the screen now. So you can see the reason why we always filter it out. There are a lot of the yellows and it just literally causes distraction. So I'll start again. The yellow, okay, I think it's good here. The yellow, the orange, and the red. So what does this box, what do they signify? Now the yellow is called low impact event, meaning anytime data is released with this particular impact, it means the impact is very low as insignificant. The market does not react when you have the yellow box event. Samuel Adio, I'll answer that question later, but I can tell you I'm a veteran. That's all I can say for now. All right. So the yellow is a low impact expected, meaning there is nothing, no movement is really expected when you see this yellow boxes. Then we have the orange, which is medium impact. Here, some volatility is expected, but not so much. Depending on the financial assets, probably we see some 10, 15, 20 pips movement, but nothing so much. Then the third one is the red, which is the high impact expected. Actually, these are the ones we really trade because when you have the high impact events, the market could move from 30 pips to 50 pips to 100 pips or even more, depending on the type of news event it is. So let me go back now and filter the yellow out. Like I said, we really don't use it. Now, on this column where I'm doing the filtering, you will see the yellow, the red is checked, the orange is checked, the yellow is checked, but there's a last one, the ash color. Now, I just put my cursor on it and it's showing non-economic. Now, sometimes you will see this ash color and like it said, it's non-economic, meaning it's not tied to an economic data. This particular ash box is always used probably when the country is going on a national holiday and the banks will not be opening for that day. So if you see it, just know that it means there's a bank holiday. That is most reason why it's the major reason why it's being used. So I'll click. Okay, I didn't uncheck the yellow. I'll apply filter and it's gone. All right. Now the next is this column on the news itself, the data itself. Here we have ECB President BOC Business Outlook Survey, ECB President Lagarde speaks, CPI monthly. You have the name of the data, that we're expecting. But then I believe you don't know anything about it. But then relax. Forest Factory is one of the best sites that gives you insight into this fundamental event. So Forest Factory has done all the work for us to make it easier for us to trade. So instead of you trying to find out what all this event mean, just come to the yellow envelopes symbol here, the next column, showing detail. For the CPI, for example, now, I'll just click on the envelope. And the envelope, the first column is showing the source. Why is the source important? You want to be sure that it's a government agency that is giving this information and not just a random blogger. You can't trust a random blogger, but if it's a government agency, you can be sure the data being given is a good data. So we'll click on it. Now, this particular data was gotten from Statistics Canada. Statistics Canada, that's the government website. Let's open it. You can see statcan.gc.ca. I can see the logo of the government of Canada there. So it's a government agency. It's a government website. Statistics Canada is a national statistical office. The agency ensures Canadians have key information on Canada's economy, society, and environment that they require to function effectively as citizens and decision makers. This tells you that this is an authentic source for this information. Now, the next section shows measures. What does this data measure? It measures the change in the price of goods and services purchased by consumers. What is the change in goods and services? Goods and services, probably you took a transportation last month from Oshodi to Ikeja for 1,000 at the beginning of the month of October. By the end of October, is it still 1,000 or is now 1,005? Or has it gone from 1,000 and dropped to 500? Though we know in Nigeria prices don't reduce, rather it increases. So what this data is just measuring is the change in the prices of goods and services purchased by consumers. Now, the usual effect, what is the effect of this news? It says actual greater than forecast is good for currency. Now take note. This is very, very key, and I will explain it in a second. I'll repeat it again. It says actual greater than forecast is good for currency. Now that's all we need to know, from this section of under the details. Now we'll go to the next column. We can now see actual forecast previous. Now I will explain this. I want you to pay a lot of attention to this, especially if you are completely new to news trading. I want you to give me your attention now. Now, I like to use employment, to explain this. Now we have previous. I'll start from previous. Previous is talking about the last time the data was released. So let's assume in Nigeria, let's use Nigeria as a case study. Let's assume in the month of, this is October now, in the month of September, there were 100,000 jobs. Nigerian youth got 100,000 jobs in the month of September. That is previous data. Now, between that time when that data was released, and let's assume the new data will be released today. Now, between the last time it was released and today, that 1 month interval, now analysts, economists, data analysts, financial analysts, economists, they look at what the government is doing to improve employment, to improve on employment. As the government gotten a grant, as the government's gotten a loan, as contracts been awarded to build infrastructure, whatever the government is doing to improve on employment, to create more job opportunities, the economists will gather all the data. And with the data, they will now give a forecast. They will give a projection of what to expect, compared to the previous month. So if the previous data was 100K, 100,000, and pardon me, I'm not okay. Now, the previous was 100,000. The forecast is now 200K. Probably they've looked at what the government is doing and they can say, wow, a lot of jobs will be created from all the activities of the government. That is forecast. It's just a projection. It's just analysis. Now, the date when the data will be released, let's assume is today. We are now going to be expecting the actual from the Ministry of Labor. In Nigeria, it's the Ministry of Labor that is in charge of employment. Now, when the Ministry of Labor is expected to have done its due diligence to gather the data of all those that were employed. So now, when the Ministry of Labor now releases the data, if this actual is greater than the forecast, we say that the data is good for the currency and we expect the currency to go bullish, that is, give an opportunity to buy. On the other hand, if the actual is less than the forecast, we say the data is bad for the economy. And in that instance, you can look for opportunity to sell the currency. So let's assume now the forecast is 200K. The actual now comes out to be 300K. That means that the 300 is greater than the forecast. And as such, we can buy the NGN because the actual is greater than the forecast. If on the other hand, the actual turns out to be 100K, that is 100,000 jobs that were created, that is a disappointment. If the last month, if the forecast is 200,000 jobs being expected, I now discover that the jobs created are just 100,000, then that means the data is bad for the economy. In that instance, we are expected to sell the NGN or any currency that is involved. I'm only using Nigeria as a case study. Now, this is how we use Forex Factory to trade news. So if you're there, you've not been trading news, you are leaving a lot of money on the table. News trading is one way of trading that has a lot of benefits. Now, for some people, they will tell you that, oh, I don't have the time, to look at the chart. Some will even tell you they cannot even analyze the chart. But then you can take advantage of this simple strategy I just showed you to trade news. Yes, there are advanced strategies, but this is just the entry point for you to trade news, at least for a starter, for a beginner. This is just very simple and straightforward. Actual greater than forecast, you buy. Actual less than forecast, you sell. Very, very simple and straightforward. Now, Forex Factory has made it a lot easier to even still understand, to take advantage of this. Sometimes it becomes difficult for you to start calculating which one is greater than or less than, because I tell you, once that data is released, the market moves immediately. You may not even have the time to start doing a calculation, but Forex Factory has got us covered on this. So when you see Forex Factory bring out the data as color green, it means the actual is greater than the forecast. Like in this example, now you can see the forecast is in color black and is in minus 0.1%. That is the forecast, and the actual comes out as 0.1. That is actual greater than forecast. In that instance, we're expected to buy the Canadian dollar. If you go lower, you will see here the forecast is 4.0% color black and the actual is 3.8%. That is actual. That is less. The actual is less than the forecast. In that case, we'll be expected to sell the British pound. Now, in this first example, you can see there are 4 events from Canada. And for all the 4, the actual came out greater than forecast. That means there will be a massive bullish trend on the Canadian dollar. The other one is the British pound. The actual came out less than forecast. You sell the British pound, and that is just it. Now, there are some instances where you have the actual equal to the forecast. Like here now, under the USD existing home sales, you have previous is 4.00 M, forecast is 4.06 M, actual is 4.06 M. When you have actual equal to forecast, the color is usually black. And in that instance, I advise you stay out. So let me recap again. Actual greater than forecast, color green, you buy. Actual less than forecast, color red, you sell. Actual equal to forecast, color black, you stay out of the market. Very simple, very straightforward. Even a young person will understand this and be able to take advantage of it to trade. All right, that will be all from fundamental analysis this afternoon. In a couple of minutes, I'll take questions. So if you have a question, you can go ahead and drop it in the comment section, and I will definitely respond to you. So the floor is open. Let's start. Question, question, question. So while we're waiting for the questions, don't forget we have physical training session at our 2 offices in Nigeria, Abuja office and Lagos office, tomorrow, Tuesday, and also Thursday. Time for the Abuja office training is 10:30 a.m. and Lagos is 11 a.m. If you have not attended our physical sessions, you're missing a lot. I invite you to join us at these 2 locations tomorrow. The address of the Abuja office is PU Prime Africa, Abuja, Walk and Connect Building 50, Ebitu Ukiwe Street, Jabi, Abuja. And like again, the time is 10:30 a.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays. And the time for Lagos office training is PU Prime Africa, Lagos, Agos Executive Lounge, 54B Adeni Jones Avenue, Ikeja, Lagos. And the time is 11 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. All right, it looks like we don't have any question. Okay, thank you, Divers Admin. Okay, Omoisa, we are here in Abuja. That's good to know. Okay, Divers Admin, throw more light on CPI. I thought it measures inflation. So the actual is greater than forecast. Is that not bad news? Not exactly in this case. Not exactly in this case. But then that's just how it's traded. If the actual is greater than the forecast, is assumed to be good for the economy, and we expect the dollar to go massively bullish in that instance. And if you have joined our live session on CPI, I tell you, if you have not joined, try to join the next one. CPI is one very sweet news to trade. The volatility can be massive. Within a matter of seconds, you just surprise, spike up. And I tell you, at PU Prime, we have over 80% win rate for our live trading session. To be honest, you can't get that anywhere, only at PU Prime. So make sure you join us our next live trading session. And take note, it's strictly for funded clients. So if you're joining a live session, make sure you have a funded account. And if you already have a funded account, just top up. so they can make money with us as we trade life. Is there any fundamental for metal like gold? That's a very brilliant question. Now, gold is not a currency, it's a commodity, it's a metal, and it reacts to fundamental. In fact, gold is more fundamental driven. Yeah, I know there's a technical side to it, but it moves a lot based on fundamental. Now, it's a safe haven as asset, meaning that anytime there's turbulence around the world, there's war, there's instability, investors pull out their assets. They pull out their investment from other forms of assets like stocks and many other ones, and they start buying gold. So when you have war or rumor of war, going on, there's this cliche, buy the rumor. So when there's a rumor of war or ongoing war, the price of gold will always spike up and skyrocket. Either it's a physical war or a trade war, gold will buy. That is why, gold responds a lot to fundamentals. It responds a lot to it. So if you are trading gold, it's good to trade gold with fundamentals. You'll be more profitable on the long term. Anytime there's war, like when the Russian Ukraine war started, gold just was spiking up. Even the recent trade war between US and China, gold has been spiking up. Earlier on, the forecast of gold for the end of this year, 2024, was $3,700 per ounce. This is from JP Morgan. And the forecast for 2026, 2026, yes, as middle of 2026, gold is projected to hit $4,000 per ounce. But the trade war between China and the US has spiked up gold. Gold has already hit 4,000, even in the month of October. That tells you how powerful, fundamentals can drive the price of gold. So please watch gold, critically, especially when there is a fundamental event around it. Okpolu Akolawole, when news is released, does it affect the price movement immediately or after how many minutes? Now, that's why we said this now depends on the significance of the news. It's not all news that will move the market massively, even though it's a high impact. It's not all high impact that moves the market like that. But there are specific ones that have been noted, to always move the market. Like the NFP CPI is constant. Sometimes GDP also could move. These are the major ones that move a lot. So it depends on the type of news. If it's the ones that are very volatile, I tell you, it's just a matter of seconds. Like when we do our live session, it is just a matter of seconds. That's why we'll give you, in our live session, this is how it goes. We start by 1:15 p.m. We analyze the market for you. We give you the reasons why we're either going to be buying or selling. We give you our pending order. And I tell you that if the news will be released by 1:30 p.m., latest by 1:20, 1:25 p.m., you have the signal. The buy stop, the sell stop, the take profit, everything, stop loss, everything given. Exactly when it is 1:30, within a matter of 3 to 5 seconds, price will hit profit. I'm telling you, it can be as fast as that. I think you want to experience that, so don't miss our next live session. You appreciate it better when you join than just what I'm saying now. So make sure you just plan to be a part of the next live trading, fundamental trading, NFP and CPI precisely. All right, I think with that, we've come to the end of this session this afternoon. Henodini, my question is on the timing of the news. Sometimes the effect of I believe you mean the effect of the news will have taken place. That's why you use pending order. We do trade with pending order for news so that we are not caught, the speed of the movement. If you want to enter exactly at the release of, especially those volatile news, I'm telling you, you'll be late. If you want to use manual entry, you are going to be late. That's why it's pending order. Most times, like 5 minutes ahead of the release of the data. That's way you can't miss the entry. I believe Ken Odini has not joined us live before. Just try to join us. You understand and appreciate this better when you join us live for the next session. Okay, I think I've answered all the questions here. If you have further questions, you can go ahead and drop it in your group. And also, if you enjoy this webinar this afternoon, go and drop a comment in your group, whether it's a WhatsApp group or Telegram group from PU Prime, any PU Prime group you belong to. Just drop a comment that you enjoyed the webinar this afternoon on mastering fundamental analysis. You're welcome, Mr. Michael Asukwo. Now, the link to this video will be dropped in your group also. I will encourage you to watch the video over and over again so that you can, assimilate the information better. All right, we end there. Take care and enjoy the rest of the evening. Bye-bye.